This $150 setup helped me make my first $10,000 cleaning windows. So this is all from Home Depot. Cheap towels, cheap washer sleeve, cheap squeegee, something like this just to pop screens out, and then a bucket. That's really all you need. You can get it all at Home Depot for less than 150 bucks and you can get started cleaning windows. And this setup over here helped me build a 7-figure window cleaning business. But if you start with all of this stuff too early, you might actually go broke. And I know that because I made that exact mistake. I thought having all of this nice fancy equipment would make me more money in my window cleaning business. And the reality is it just didn't. So when I first started my window cleaning business, I didn't have a fancy truck set up. I didn't have our fancy wrap trucks that you see behind me. I didn't have all of these fancy tools. And I definitely didn't have any employees who could do the work for me because frankly, I just couldn't afford them. Honestly, all I really had was a bucket, a squeegee, and a towel, and a washer sleeve, and that's really all you need to get started. But the key is knowing when to stay simple and when it's time to level up to better equipment. So today on this video, I'm gonna walk you through exactly what tools helped me make my first $100,000 cleaning windows, and more importantly, when it makes sense to upgrade to nicer tools like this. Also, later in this video, I'm gonna show you the one tool that I bought way too early that was a complete waste of my money. And it's something that a lot of you guys buy thinking that it's gonna make you successful, and it's just not. So when you're just starting out, your problem isn't equipment, it's getting customers. You can honestly go and make like $500 to $800 every single day just with this basic equipment and nothing else. And the beautiful thing about window cleaning is you can basically start with zero overhead. So most of your money that you make is profit before you start hiring and adding better equipment and things like that. In the early days, your skill and your ability to market and get new customers and make sales is what's going to make you money, not this stuff. So I remember back in the day cleaning windows in Arizona with tools just like this. I'd be up on a ladder in the hot summer days and just like sweating like crazy. And I remember thinking that if I could just get my business to 100K per year, everything would change. Now, little did I know 100K per year isn't all that much money when you're actually running a business, and eventually we'd grow to a lot bigger than that. But my first goal was just to get to that first 100K per year. So here's where most people mess up. They either upgrade to all of this great stuff way too early and they go broke trying to look fancy, or they wait way too long and they use these cheap tools for too long and it starts costing them money and it starts costing them capacity. So these cheap tools, they don't cost you money when you're not busy, but they do cost you money once you start getting busy and you can't do as much work in a day because of the tools that you've chosen to use. So when you don't have professional tools, jobs take longer, you're not as efficient, your results for the customer probably aren't as consistent, and you also may get burnt out just because you get so tired of doing everything by hand. So when I started getting booked out consistently, meaning I was like 2 or 3 or maybe a week out, I realized that my bottleneck wasn't leads, my bottleneck was actually equipment, and that's when it made sense to finally upgrade to all of this. So this may seem small, but something as simple as just having better professional grade rubber and better squeegees, it made me faster. It made the squeegee glide better. And when you're doing like 2 or 3 or maybe 4 houses per day, those minutes and the time that you save by having better equipment matters. So the lesson to learn here is that when speed becomes your bottleneck, not leads, that's when it's time to upgrade to better equipment. So having a good tool belt was an absolute game changer, and not because it looks cool or whatever, but it just saved me so many trips back to the truck when I could hold multiple squeegees in my bucket on a belt and everything in here was clean and organized and I didn't have to go back and forth to the truck and the bucket over and over again. So having proper organization is gonna save you minutes. Those minutes turn into hours and those hours turn into more capacity and more revenue. So think about it, if you could even just get $100 more per day and you have 20 working days in a month, that's $2,000 in extra capacity that you can fulfill just by being a little bit more efficient. So no matter what, in a window cleaning business, you're gonna need a good ladder. We like to use water-fed pole as much as we possibly can. Sometimes we just can't reach the windows of the water-fed pole, or they're so dirty we can't get a good result from the water-fed pole. And don't cheap out on the tool that protects your body. So a pure water system and a water-fed pool was really the first upgrade to me that felt scary. For me, it was pretty natural to go from the cheap stuff to this stuff because I knew how necessary it was. But the water-fed pool wasn't fully necessary, so it kind of felt scary to spend the money. It definitely wasn't cheap, and any of you window cleaners watching this know this, but this allowed us to clean windows on homes so much faster. So as often as possible, we want to not go up on the ladder and be able to use a water-fed pool because it saves so much time, 1, but 2, it's so much safer to be able to clean second-story windows from the ground. Now, unfortunately, here in Arizona, windows are very dirty because we live in the desert. So a lot of times on first-time cleans, we can't use water-fed, but we try to use it as often as possible for any kind of repeat cleans. And most of the country can get away with using WaterFed on first-time cleans, which is something I'm pretty jealous of. Now, the tool that made me the most money wasn't any of this stuff. It was software, it was better scheduling, it was relentless follow-ups with our prospects. It was learning recurring service plans so we could start getting customers back on the schedule. It was starting to utilize our customer list through phone calls, text blasts, and emails. So when I stopped thinking like a window cleaner and stopped focusing on tools, and I started thinking like a business owner, that's when everything changed for my business. Having the right tools and all of that is really important in the early days, but eventually you're gonna get to a point where systems make you way more money than any of the tools do. Now, I told you at the beginning that there was an upgrade I made early that was a complete waste of my money, and what that was a really expensive truck setup. So I thought that if we got a tank in our truck that we could be a lot faster and things would be good. So I went and bought a nice tank, and then at night, I would filter the water and put the water in the tank. And then we even had like a battery hooked up to that so that it could give us a lot of water pressure. And I used that in my truck for a little while. And what I didn't realize was I spent all of this money and it only saved me like a couple minutes versus just plugging in a WaterFed system. So to me, that tank setup was just a total waste of money and something that I should not have done. So the lesson here is to upgrade tools to remove bottlenecks and make you faster, not just to impress people or make yourself feel cool. So here's the simple framework that I use now and what I teach people now. Only upgrade your tools once the bottleneck has become speed. So upgrade when you're consistently booked out, you have no capacity left on your calendar, it improves your safety, or if it improves your profit. So do not upgrade to look successful, to impress your competitors, or because you just had one good month. Tools don't build businesses, systems build businesses, and having profit in the bank is what's going to allow you to build your business and go faster. So these tools started it. These ones scaled it, but the real key with all of this wasn't the tools. It was consistency, it was learning, it was upgrading things intentionally. So don't wait until you have the perfect setup to start. Just start simple and then upgrade it over time. So if you want to build a real window cleaning business, have less focus on the tools and more focus on the systems. And if you like this content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.